All right. Well, we started the recording, so let me do a wonderful introduction. I know more folks will be coming in, but welcome to everyone for the speaker series from ATARC's Quantum Working Group. We are excited to have Laura Foster here with us today. She is TechUK's head of program for technology and innovation. For those of you who don't know, TechUK is a premier technology trade association in the United Kingdom. And Laura's supports the applications and expansion of emerging technologies, including quantum. And she has been leading the TechUK efforts and engagement with the UK government on their quantum efforts. And so with that, we are so excited to have Laura here, and I will turn it over to Laura, who will be sharing her slides, which will be made available for folks after. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you for that introduction. And it's lovely to see everyone on the call. And thank you to ATARC for inviting me to speak today. Now, it's been a little while since I've been on Zoom, so hopefully, can you guys see my slides there? And if I just put those into presenter mode, 2 seconds.
Yes, we can see them.
Wonderful. And is that now in presenter mode for everyone?
That's perfect.
Okay.
It was perfect. It just popped out.
Oh no, okay. Let me attach my second screen then, 2 seconds. There we go.
Nope, we're still seeing it in the not slideshow mode.
Apologies, I'll just plugging in my second screen so I can.
No worries.
There should also be an option in the upper left of the screen that is presenting at your end to switch which screen shows what.
Okay, perfect.
If you like.
So.
In the yeah.
That works, right?
And on the upper left right now, it says display settings. Drop down to the right of that, display settings.
At the middle on
at the very top.
Yep.
Yep.
Up
it says display higher. Settings with a down arrow. Right above your mouse right now, straight up. Or where it was. Oops.
Yeah.
At the top of that screen that has the pre-display. It says display settings with a little drop-down menu all the way at the top.
I unfortunately don't have access to that. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the show taskbar, and the next to it is display settings. But that's okay. We can get started if we need to. I just want to be mindful of time.
Yeah, of course. I just need to make sure that okay, apologies for this, folks.
To make it easier, let me share my screen because I have.
Yeah, is that okay?
Absolutely, and you'll just let me know.
I'm very sorry. Yeah.
No worries. You'll just let me know when to advance on. There you go.
Okay, wonderful.
Over to you.
And apologies, everyone, just for the small amount of technical difficulties that it always happens, doesn't it? You think you've got everything absolutely prepared, and then you start to present. So anyway, getting started. So hello, as Alison already said, my name is Laura, and I am the head of tech and innovation for TechUK. And thank you again for ATARC for inviting me to speak today. Alison, are you okay to move on to the next slide? So I have been invited kindly here today to talk a little bit about what is happening with quantum technologies in the UK. So I have 3 core goals of what I want to discuss in this presentation today. So firstly, what is actually happening in the UK. Secondly, I'm then going to talk about why TechUK, the organisation that I work for, has really taken a focus onto quantum commercialization. And then thirdly, as I round up the presentation today, I want to talk about what I think and what TechUK members think the UK needs for commercialization. Now, this is not supposed to be an exhaustive list of what is actually happening here in the UK. There's a lot of moving parts, and I've already got to go through these slides quite quickly. But hopefully what I can do today is pinpoint some key names, some key organisations about what is happening. And then also, if you do want to find out any more information about what is happening in the UK, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. But before we get started, you're probably thinking, what even is a TechUK? So TechUK is the UK's technology trade association. And essentially, our purpose is to represent TechUK members and to champion the UK tech ecosystem, showcasing that how technology has been developed to empower society, the economy, people, and then, of course, protecting the planet. Now, we have over 950 members at TechUK. These are tech agnostic, so they're not just working in the quantum space, they're working across all forms of emerging and transformative technologies. And we have all the big players in membership that you would expect. So your Googles, your Microsofts, your IBMs. I saw someone from IBM on the call. Hello. But we are really, really proud that 2/3 of our members would fall into that kind of startup or SME range. And that is because we want to make sure that we are representing the UK tech ecosystem as a whole and the need of the entire UK tech sector. Those numbers that you can see on screen showcase just how TechUK goes about engaging with the UK tech sector. So we always have numerous events taking place. Alison has spoken at many of these. We also do roundtables with our members. We publish thought leadership pieces, reports, white papers, and crucially, we also work very closely with key government stakeholders. Now, it says that there's 20 programs there, and these 20 programs can be fit into 3 core buckets. I'm not going to go through them for today, just for a matter of time. Happy to talk you through them if you would like more detail. But all you need to know there is that the Technology and Innovation Programme is where TechUK's quantum work sits. So that's where our quantum commercialization campaign is, and also TechUK's quantum working group. Now, I would say it is the best part of TechUK, but of course I am biased because it is the part that I also do work in. So if you're okay to move on, Alison. So what is actually happening with quantum in the UK? So as the next slide will show, we've had quite a lot of government backing of quantum technologies in the last 10 years or so. And both the UK Innovation Strategy and the Integrated Review, these are 2 kind of thought leadership pieces, strategy policy documents from UK government, both underpin the importance of quantum as a strategic technology for the UK's innovation ecosystem. The reason that UK government really does focus on quantum is because we were actually quite quick off the mark. We had the National Quantum Technologies Programme launch all the way back in 2014, and this 10-year programme, which is starting to come to the end of this iteration. We'll get on to what is happening next in a little bit, but that 10-year programme has already delivered 1 billion of public and private investment across the UK for quantum technologies. And another area where the UK is actually been quite quick off the mark, and an area that we should definitely talk about our success in is the establishment of the National Quantum Computing Centre, the NQCC, which was established in 2021. And this is going to be a big facility just based outside Oxford, which is going to provide access, resources, partnerships for the quantum industry in particular to start to develop the quantum ecosystem. The idea being that it's a place where you can go to build partnerships and have access to quantum and experiment with use cases and start to build out that commercialization. I know it can be a little bit difficult when you see new sorry, Alison, if you don't mind just going back slightly, it's okay. When you see like a different government and you're not quite sure how all these different departments fit together, you can see that I have 3 logos on the slide there. So it is the Department of Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, which funds UKRI, and UKRI is where the National Quantum Technologies Programme and the the NQCC sit. So whilst these are all 3 independent bodies, it is BEIS that sets the strategic direction, the government department of BEIS that sets the strategic direction of everything that is happening with quantum. BEIS are publishing the quantum strategy in the UK. They announced that they were publishing this very early on in 2022. We were expecting this strategy, which would be the first quantum strategy here in the UK, to come out nearer the end of 2022, but UK government have had other priorities to focus on in previous months, so we are now expecting the quantum strategy to be released in 2023. However, all in all, what this government backing shows us, if you go to the next slide, Alison, is that through that funding alone, so this isn't just all that's happening in the UK, but that UK funding, that UK backing alone has already created 470 plus PhD candidates. There's all that different levels of funding and different startups that have been generated. There are more startups than that, but these are the ones that are specifically going through the UKRI kind of funding mechanisms that have been created through these different programs. Now, all of that ensures that this is what is happening in the UK. Alison, I apologise for this slide. So if you click just a couple of times, you'll see an awful lot of what is happening in the UK. So that letter from Downing Street that you can see there is an example of the VC funds that have been raised around quantum, and that is from a company called Oxford Quantum Circuits. And this summer, they raised the highest level of Series A funding by a quantum startup ever in the UK at 38 million, which was a pretty impressive feat. You can see there that Orca Computing, which is another UK startup, has procured its has done its first procurement cycle with the Ministry of Defence here in the UK. And if you keep on clicking, you can see that we've got so many startups such as Riverlane who are partnering based on some UK funding there with other international startups. And that is crucial because that means that other international startups are now also seeing the UK as a viable place for commercialization of quantum technologies. And then one aspect which is really important to me is the fact that UK businesses are also starting to back quantum technologies as well. So if you click one more time, I think it's one more time, Alison. Yes, this one. You can see that BT launched the world's first, at the time, commercial trial of a quantum secure communication service. It wasn't the first secure communication service, but it was the first time a trial was done with an actual commercial user at the end, which was EY. And it was really exciting to go to the top of the BT Tower, if any of you have ever been to London, to go for the launch of that event. And all of this just really shows that we do have a thriving quantum ecosystem here in the UK. So if you go to the next slide, what that actually means is that the UK is fourth for quantum program delivery in the world. But what is also crucial is that we're actually second for commercialization of quantum technologies. Now, in the UK, there's a very common conversation with policymakers that the UK is really, really great at coming up with ideas, but we're just absolutely terrible at executing them. So we're not very good at the D part of R&D, essentially. So when we see figures like this, which has the UK at second for commercialization, this is the exact type of thing that the UK wants to highlight and really wants to showcase, and therefore wants to push forward. So you can really see that we're remaining competitive in quantum. So it's just that bit there that you can see the commercialization aspect. So what does TechUK members think? So TechUK's quantum commercialization work started around 18 months ago, a little over 18 months ago, actually. And since then, we have grown a strong program focused on what the UK tech sector as a whole needs to commercialize quantum, both now and also what it needs in the future as this technology develops. We are quantum tech agnostic, so we don't just look at quantum computing, but we are also looking at quantum secure networks and quantum security, so on and so forth. Our core goal is to bridge connections between the quantum industry and the larger quantum sector, in the larger technology sector, and then find out what the wants and needs of those two groups are together, and then take them to UK governments and kind of showcase and raise awareness. And obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I think we have been quite successful in doing this. So we've had over 14 quantum events held at TechUK, and that's reached an audience of over 7,700. And crucially, government have been constantly engaging with us on this, and they have been speakers at least 6 of these events and attendees at so many more as well. We have directly fed into the UK quantum strategy with industry government roundtables, and we have also actually spoke at parliamentary breakfast with MPs on what quantum commercialization could be. So if you see that bottom photo with the old-fashioned wood on the walls, I'm sat there next to Roger McKinley, who is the head of the National Quantum Technologies Programme, and there's a couple of industry leaders sat round. There's, I can see someone from BT there and a couple of MPs on that photo as well. And then the one at the top is a quote from George Freeman, who was our Science and Innovation Minister. And at the time, this was really, really important for TechUK to have his endorsement over our quantum report. I think George Freeman is now 3 Science and Innovation Ministers down, but hopefully when everything finally settles in the UK and we have a new set of government, we'll be able to have that same engagement at a ministerial level around quantum technologies as well. So for the final bit of this presentation, I want to start talking about what I think the UK needs to continue our journey for commercialization. I've talked quite positively about the UK here. Obviously, I'm going to highlight some of the really great stuff that we have, but there's also areas where we can definitely improve. So I've alluded to the fact that TechUK earlier this year released its quantum report, and this was our flagship quantum report, and we basically designed it to help UK government work with the UK tech sector to ensure how the UK can remain a world leader in this space. We argue that commercialization of quantum technologies is going to be the key thing that underpins this already long-standing growth of a quantum ecosystem. And we really do call on UK government and industry to set clear ambitions together to really signal that the UK internationally is the place to go if you want commercial viability. Now, there are 20 recommendations in this report. I am not going to go through all of them now, but those 20 recommendations can be put into 5 core areas. I'm just going to talk through these 5 core areas to you, not in any too much detail just because of timing, but if you do want to know more information about this, I'm happy to talk about each individual area with you. So the first area is, of course, ensuring access to quantum talent and developing quantum skills here in the UK. So we understand that the UK might not be able to match the competitiveness and salaries of larger nations, and therefore we think it is absolutely imperative to open access to careers in quantum. If I have one ask to really take away from our section on skills, it is that there is a massive role for UK government to be the bridge between academia and industry. And we're talking about things there like co-funding industry placements, making industry placements as easy as possible, because talking to our members, it can be very difficult for them to kind of make that jump from academia to industry. And we also say that that needs to be done at an international level as well. So a lot of our members were talking about how difficult it is to get some really great talent in quantum who might be working in Europe or outside of Europe, to get them in for short industry placements of around 6 months, because our visa system at the time just really did not accommodate that. So understanding how we can make it as easy as possible for some of these really great startups that we have in the UK attract quantum talent, even if it is for those kind of 6 months industry partnerships. The second area is developing models of easy access to quantum technologies, and this includes building pathways with other forms of critical emerging technologies such as cloud, HPC, and AI, which is going to be key, especially for that early stage of commercialization. There's some really great examples where this is happening already in the UK. There's somewhere called the Hartree Centre, which is based up in Warrington. For those unfamiliar with the UK, that's like the Northwest. And they've got a £210 million partnership with IBM to start bringing all of these different technologies together. But looking at where we can really highlight that and kind of showcasing the opportunities to start having all of these emerging technologies that we work across in the UK, what I would call quantum minded. Also just making sure the technology reviews that UK government are doing aren't cannibalizing each other. So we know that there's a quantum strategy coming up. We know that there's a future of compute review happening, making sure that those teams are focusing on convergence, because that then means these reviews aren't cannibalizing each other, taking resources away from one another. And we should focus on opening access through that. The third one, which I'd be very keen to talk to people on this call about today, is of course international collaboration. We talk about in our report the need to increase partnerships, agreements, and memorandums of understanding between the UK and other nations. And we do highlight the 2021 UK and US signed joint statement as best practice on this, and it's really nice to see that it has been continuing more recently as well. The fourth one is setting ambitious plans for public procurement in the UK. We definitely could do this in the UK. We've had this really strong national technologies program around quantum, but I want to see that happen more, such as with that MOD procurement, where can government support the development of a quantum industry? And then finally, it is an area that quite often gets missed. So we really wanted to make sure that it was included in our quantum report. And that is making sure that commercialization is achieved in a responsible and ethical manner. And we talk about responsible innovation principles at the end of our report. The UK does have a long-standing digital ethics community. We have independent organisations like the Alan Turing Institute and the Ada Lovelace Institute, as well as government bodies such as the Centre for Data Ethics and Innovation as well. So where can we take that wealth of knowledge that we have and then apply those principles to quantum? So we did include that in our report. We have talked to government about that as well, as we think it is often something that does get missed when we have all this talk around commercialisation. So that was not an exhaustive route through the TechUK's quantum report. I do implore you to read it if you can, but hopefully you can start to see what is going well in the UK, areas where we definitely can improve, and most importantly, that the UK cannot be complacent as we move towards commercialisation. Thank you for letting me come and present. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning, but it always happens anyway.
No, thank you so much, Laura. We already have a question in the chat. I don't know, Jonathan, if you want to ask it, or if you come off mute and ask it, or you want me to read it.
Oh, I can come on. I just seeding the discussion here and curious if you have ideas for how industry can better work with government to move beyond the bilateral agreements, and AUKUS also mentions quantum technologies, moving toward tangible policies that reduce existing barriers or prevent future barriers to collaboration.
That is a really good question. So international collaboration is not my specific area at TechUK. We do have a wonderful team led by my colleague Jana, who works specifically on international collaboration. So if you want an in-depth conversation around what's happening across emerging technologies as a whole, I can defer to her and introduce her too. But from my perspective, I want to see best practice, right? I want to see examples where this is actually happening, and then that can be scaled. So for example, Quantinium in the UK, where they were bought by Honeywell, and then they have moved quite a lot of the work to the US now. So they are now having to actively work across these two nations and kind of address those barriers as it happens. They're finding out best practice, explaining that to government, and then looking at how government can scale that, I think is going to be absolutely crucial. So almost kind of being led by industry a little bit, not all the time, but just looking at where industry can lead with best practice.
Thank you. And we have someone from Continuum on the call as well. So you have been not knowing it, but calling out the different folks on. I don't know, Simon, if you have a comment you wanted to make.
Sorry, just trying to come off mute. Laura, really appreciated the background about, excuse me, about half our companies in the UK. And I do know that they've got a number of things they're working with the UK government and enterprise over there. But what I like for this forum is just the the degree of collaboration and trying to set common standards that you were talking to. I know, even though we've got I think we've got 150 PhDs, just about everything that we're doing is in collaboration, which just gives a sense. I think we're the biggest at this point, so 300 million, and I think 400 engineers. Just about everything I do is some kind of collaboration with government, industry, or academia, and I think that's a common theme. But it's great to see you on this call. I have met folks from the UK, but usually it's more the folks out of Cheltenham ringing alarm bells.
Can't say I have a Cheltenham accent, but you're entirely right. As we're in this kind of early commercialization stage, right, it doesn't make sense for businesses to be so actively against one another, which is why we often do see those partnerships such as Riverlane and Rigetti, because there's so much that the quantum industry can learn from each other. That's one thing that I do like about TechUK's quantum working group. We do often have businesses come in and kind of present about what they're doing, or independent third parties come in and kind of present about what they're doing, and that just just enables that extra level of collaboration that we need if commercialization is going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
If other folks have questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hands or put a question in the chat. With that, I'm going to ask Laura, I have been involved in a lot of the quantum work that TechUK has done, and these quantum reports have been fascinating to understand. There was also the future to compute discussion and how quantum navigates through that. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, the future to compute and how quantum is connected in with those efforts.
Of course, more than happy to. Would you like me to describe it from the policy perspective in the UK and the Future of Compute review?
I think that would be great. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so before I mentioned that the UK Department BEIS is leading the UK's quantum strategy, DCMS, which is another government department, is leading the Future of Compute review in the UK. Now, the Future of Compute review was to look at the long-standing, what they call large-scale compute infrastructure, but by large-scale compute infrastructure, they mean everything from high performance all the way up to exascale computes. For those of you who might not be aware, the UK is not a leader in large-scale compute infrastructure. So this review has been called at a really important time, where if you start to review compute infrastructure as critical national infrastructure and part of becoming a science and technology superpower, it needs to be reviewed, and we need to mitigate some of the, if I was to be quite forceful with my words, some of the damage that we have done by chronic underinvestment into large-scale compute in the UK. So they have called for this review, and TechUK have been working very closely on a number of key recommendations for the Future of Compute review. These include things such as making sure that people have access, or companies have access to large-scale compute through things like the cloud, making sure that our compute infrastructure isn't so oversubscribed as it is right now, and also the importance of international partnerships in providing extra access to compute. We do have a call for exascale compute there as well, which is not something that is available in the UK or is going to be available for the UK in a while. I'm happy to share more information about TechUK's recommendations there. But the key thing that we talk about across TechUK is the convergence of compute infrastructure and the convergence of emerging technologies. You cannot be a science and technology superpower if you are not exploring the key areas where you're going to get advantage by these technologies coming together. So, for example, do you have a HPC setup which is directly designed for AI algorithms, so you can start to give your AI companies in the UK the best chance of kind of creating that next level on their journey? Are you ensuring that your HPC centers are also exploring where they can converge with quantum, so you can actually do some of those use cases that we talk about around pharmaceuticals and optimization? And there's no point doing all this work in the UK around quantum if you're not looking for those key areas where you can develop that advantage. So we very much do call for the convergence piece in TechUK's Future of Compute review, and a lot of the work that we're doing around the Future of Compute directly involves our quantum working group and the companies there. To summarise, convergence is key. TechUK is championing convergence of emerging technologies, and you cannot be a science and technology superpower without convergence.
Thank you so much, Laura. We are at time, and I want to be mindful of everyone's schedules. Thank you so much for this. As we mentioned, we'll be sharing these slides with folks within the ATARC community, and we can provide Laura's contact information as well. As I will be the first to admit, Laura is a wealth of knowledge and wonderful to work with, as is all of TechUK. So thank you again for your time. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And we're excited. Tomorrow, we have Jonathan from QEDC, who is here going to be talking about global supply chain. So we're excited for our quantum speakers this week. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.